everyone. So we're looking this week at the topic of unity, and following looking at the book of Hosea. So first of all, I'm going to start off by focusing on the word unity. Looking at definitions, it's described as being united or joined as a whole, joined together or in agreement. Other sort of similar words which might help us kind of get into the zone of unity are union, coalition, oneness, harmony, collaboration, togetherness, solidarity, synthesis, wholeness, congruence, cohesion. So I'm going to focus on some passages in Hosea, but before we do, I just wanted to just look at some other probably quite well-known verses in the Bible which focus on the topic of unity. And if we look in Corinthians, Paul's letters, they've got the very famous bit about the body. I think most of you be familiar with it, but I'm just going to read now from 1 Corinthians 12:12. It says, just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. So we've had, a lot of us, maybe it's the first time you're hearing it, but for a lot of us, we're quite used to the idea of us as a church being different parts of the body. And if you read on in this, after that verse I just read out, it goes on to explain about all the different parts of the body doing different things, but they're all united. They all form one body. And in Psalm 133 verse 1, this is one that David wrote, it says, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. So moving on to the book of Hosea, I'm just keeping that idea of unity in our minds. I wanted to focus on Hosea 13 verse 4. It says, I, the Lord, have been your God since the time you were in Egypt. I am the only God you know, the only one who can save. I took care of you in a thirsty desert. I fed you till you were satisfied. Then you became proud and forgot about me. Now I'm just focusing on these verses because of this, what God's reminding them of, his provision. He's the only one who can save, and all these things he's done. Well, I say for them, but this is also where we sort of look at it as well, and we're like, okay, we can relate that to us. So then the last little bit, I fed you till you were satisfied, then you became proud and forgot about me. I just want us to just think about that in the context of us. And has that happened to any of us? Is it happening right now? And I think, again, we've talked about this before, but it can be easy with some of the habits that have become such a strong part of, our faith in this part of the world. You can still be going to church, you can still be serving, you can still be doing those things you did before, but it's about your heart. So I guess it's a question about, have you experienced that, and are you experiencing that? It's about becoming proud, but I think that's also probably that whole thing of, I can do this on my own, I'm not relying on God, or God isn't so involved in this. And it says then you became proud and forgot about me. So yeah, that's just a challenging question, but just something to think about and ponder. And if that is something that's happened to you in the past and that's changed, you realised and there was a change happening, that might be something that would be helpful to share with people you know and trust, to encourage them. Okay, so we move on to Isaiah 14 verse 4. Israel, you have rejected me, but my anger is gone. I will heal you and love you without limits. I will be like the dew. Then you will blossom like lilies and have roots like a tree. Your branches will spread with the beauty of an olive tree and with the aroma of Lebanon forest. I really love these verses, says a visual person. But here, just that reminder of God as our healer, and he loves without limits. And that picture for them, but also again, just think about the context of us, to blossom like lilies and have roots like a tree. And also here we have this picture of the people as a tree, and the branches will spread with the beauty of olive tree and with the aroma of the Lebanon forest, something beautiful and wonderful, and whole as well. So yeah, here I think it's a strong picture of healing and growth, and also that picture of unity as well. Guess questions to ask ourselves here is, especially as us as a faith community, but just thinking about that unity, and are we this picture of a tree, and to be encouraged by that picture, and how it's reminded here it's God making the tree, the lilies blossom and having roots like a tree, and your branches. God is doing all of that. He's the one who is creating that growth, that healing, and that growth. Okay, move on to Hosea 14 verse 8. Israel, give up your idols. I will answer your prayers and take care of you. I am that glorious tree, the source of your fruit. So here we've got another lovely picture of a tree. Apparently this is the only time God's referred to as a tree in the Old Testament. And I love it in this translation as well, how it has, I'm that glorious tree, and the source as well, the source of your fruit. Israel, give up your idols. Again, I think sometimes, especially when we look at the Old Testament, it can feel so far removed. But if we actually apply that to ourselves now, and here they obviously talking about Baal, and they've got these very obvious idols that people were worshipping, and that's not how people tend to operate now. The idols that people worship now, instead of being big gold statues, are things in everyday life which we take for granted, or it's even normalized to, for that to be your priority in life. So I guess here it'd be quite good to ask ourselves, have we got any idols in our lives? Are there things that are taking us away from God and his ways? Are there things which we're prioritizing over God? And also, if reflecting on that, it might be helpful to think about what impact is that having on us, because it inevitably does have an impact. And also just remind ourselves that God is that glorious tree and our source. And a reminder also that God will answer our prayers and take care of us. Right, so at the very end of the book, there's this note, and I think it might have been the author who collated together a lot of Hosea's poems. I'm going to read it to you in two different translations, because I think sometimes that can be really, really helpful. I'll read you the contemporary English version first of all, then the NIV after. If you are wise, you will know and understand what I mean. I am the Lord, and I lead you along the right path. If you obey me, we will walk together. But if you are wicked, you will stumble. Okay, and now this is the NIV. Who is wise? Let them realize these things. Who is discerning? Let them understand. The ways of the Lord are right. The righteous walk in them, but the rebellious stumble in them. So these comments here, relevant for them, but still relevant for us now. And when it talks about who is wise, and you realize these things, who's discerning, and about understanding them, you'll know and understand what I mean. It's looking at the deeper things going on here, rather than getting maybe down in the small details. It's kind of like looking at the bigger picture and how this is actually so relevant for us now. And the comments about the ways of the Lord are right, but the righteous walk in them, but the rebellious stumble in them. And we've got the other one, but if you're wicked, you will stumble. This idea of stumbling. I think it's easy to look at things in black and white. I mean, wicked and rebellious are quite strong words, and again, that would apply to somebody else. But it'd be really helpful to be really honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, can that apply to us at all? Are we walking in God's ways? Are we stumbling in them? Because if we're stumbling in them, that becomes an issue for unity. If it helps with pictures, just imagine all sort of walking together. If some people are stumbling, knocking into people, knocking them off balance, making someone else stumble, knock onto, like that dominoes effect nearly. That's the impact it can have on the body, your faith community as well. So it's your family, the people around you. It's more than just you as an individual. It's that knock-on effect. And I think with some of our values or actions, they're not aligned, then those sorts of problems, can happen, and they do have a big knock-on effect. So yeah, an important question to ask yourself, and then also ask yourself, how do I help my brothers or sisters who are stumbling? What can I do to help them get back on track? What can I do to help limit the knocks into others? And of course, reach out to God in that. I hope you feel encouraged by the things we've covered. If you felt challenged, then do reach out to God, obviously, but also you can reach out for help from others in the faith community with those things. I encourage you to share our stories, because they are so encouraging, and we can learn so much from one another, and about God's ways as well from one another. I hope that the images in here encourage you deeply, and that might be something to think about during this week. And they're all different. Some of us aren't as much into imagery as others, but this idea of God's people blossoming like lilies and having roots like a tree and having branches that will spread with beauty, and also this image of God as that glorious tree, the source of all fruit. I know our day-to-days look quite different, but especially being in the Isle of Man, I think a lot of us come into contact with trees and nature quite a lot. So maybe that's just something, when you see those things, let that just remind you of these wonderful images that we've looked at today. Take care, guys. Speak soon. Bye.